Hello everyone and welcome back to another video from our channel, Immortal News. Today we invite you to join us for a gentle and heartfelt remembrance. We'll be honoring the American stars we've recently lost, as well as beloved figures from around the world whose lives touched us in ways we may not even realize until they're gone. These are the stories of people who made us smile, inspired us, and left behind memories that continue to echo in our hearts. Before we begin, if you could take a moment to give this video a like, it would truly mean a lot. Your support helps us continue sharing these meaningful tributes and keeping their legacies alive. Thank you for being here with us. Now let's begin. Number 8. But words feel like the way he would want us to remember him. Gilbert Cyril Gerard was born on January 23, 1943, in Little Rock, Arkansas. He chased his dream of acting all the way to New York City, studying drama while driving a taxi to get by. One day, he was cast as an extra in the film Love Story, and that small step helped open the door to a long career on screen. Before he was a familiar face in science fiction, Gil appeared in approximately 400 television commercials and became a spokesman for Ford Motor Company. He found steady work in daytime television, with a prominent role as Dr. Alan Stewart in The Doctors, and a guest appearance on Little House on the Prairie led to more opportunities, including being cast by Michael Landon. The world came to know him best as Captain William Buck Rogers in Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. He first starred in the 1979 theatrical film and then in the television series, which ran for 37 episodes across 2 seasons. As Buck Rogers, Gil became a 1970s sci-fi hero and a TV icon, beloved by fans of science fiction television around the world. Gil never stopped working. He starred in Sidekicks as Sergeant Jake Rizzo, appeared in EARTH Force, and continued making film and television appearances through the 1980s and 1990s. He co-authored the screenplay Hooch, hosted the reality series Code 3, and later returned to the Buck Rogers universe in the internet series Buck Rogers Begins. He reunited with his Buck Rogers co-star Aaron Gray in Nuclear Hurricane, lent his voice to Transformers, Robots in Disguise, and even appeared in Star Trek, Phase 2. Fans also loved seeing him in person at events like Dragon Con. Gil Gerard died on December 16, 2025 at age 82, following a rare and viciously aggressive form of cancer. In a final message, he thanked people for the opportunities, the people he met, and the love he gave and received, calling his 82 years deeply satisfying, and urging others not to waste time on anything that doesn't bring love or excitement. He is survived by his wife Janet Gerard and his son, actor Gil Gerard. Tributes to Gil Gerard. Number 7. Writer-historian David Halberstam once called Peter Arnett the best reporter of the whole Vietnam War, a tribute to a life spent chasing difficult truths in the hardest places on Earth. Peter Greg Arnett was born on 13th November 1934 in Riverton, New Zealand. He began his journalism journey at the Southland Times newspaper in Invercargill, quickly showing a determination to be where the major stories were unfolding. That drive would take him far from home and into the center of history. He joined the Associated Press and became a reporter in Saigon, covering the Vietnam War from 1962 to 1975. From there, he wrote more than 2,000 stories, witnessing major battles and documenting what war looked like for soldiers and civilians on the ground. In 1966, he received the Pulitzer Prize for international reporting for his Vietnam coverage, recognition of work that often challenged official accounts but put accuracy and eyewitness detail first. Peter later moved from print to television, joining CNN in 1981. During the Gulf War, he became known around the world for his live reporting from Baghdad. For the first 16 hours of that conflict's air campaign, he was at times the only Western reporter broadcasting directly from the city, His work brought the reality of modern warfare into homes across the globe and earned him an Emmy Award. Across more than 5 decades, Peter reported from many of the world's conflict zones, including the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan and the 2003 invasion of Iraq for NBC and National Geographic. He wrote and helped create the documentary series, Vietnam, the 10,000-Day War, and was the first Western journalist to conduct a television interview with Osama bin Laden in March 1997. In 2007, he was appointed an officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit for his services to journalism and shared his experience as a professor at Shantou University Chung Kong School of Journalism. Peter Arnett died on 17th December 2025 in Newport Beach, California at the age of 91. His legacy lives on in the stories he told, the risks he took to tell them, and the generations of journalists who followed his path into the field. Tributes to Peter Arnett. Number 6. Those who worked beside Norman Podhoretz often felt they were in the presence of a restless, searching mind that never stopped wrestling with the big questions of his time. Norman Harold Podhoretz was born on January 16, 1930, the son of immigrants, and grew into one of America's most talked-about magazine editors, writers, and conservative political commentators. He would go on to shape debates about politics, culture, and foreign policy for decades. In 1960, at just 30 years old, he became editor-in-chief of Commentary magazine. Under his leadership, Commentary evolved from its earlier identity into a central forum for intense political and intellectual argument. In the early years, he moved the magazine leftward, publishing major liberal voices and essays that challenged its readers, including his own 1963 reflection on race, My Negro Problem, and Ours. His 1967 book, Making It, marked a turning point, signaling a break from many of his former liberal colleagues. From the late 1960s on, Norman became a leading figure in the neoconservative movement, known for his strong Cold War stance, and later for his advocacy of U.S. military action in places like Iraq and Iran. He served as an advisor to the U.S. Information Agency from 1981 to 1987, then as a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute from 1995 to 2003, and even as a senior foreign policy advisor during a 2008 presidential campaign. Norman's influence was recognized at the highest levels. In 2004, he received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and in 2007, he was honored with the Guardian of Zion Award. Over the years, he wrote books such as The Present Danger and Why Are Jews Liberals, and signed on to statements that helped define neoconservative foreign policy. Behind the public debates, there was a family man on Manhattan's Upper East Side. In 1956, he married author Midge Decter, and they remained together until her death in 2022. They raised 2 children, John and Ruthie, and watched their family grow to include 13 grandchildren and 12 great-grandchildren. Norman Harold Podhoretz died on December 16, 2025 at the age of 95 from pneumonia. He passed peacefully and without pain, with a copy of the Odyssey translation on his desk, a fitting image for a man whose life was spent in dialogue with history, ideas, and the great stories of the past. Tributes to Norman Podhoretz. Number 5. Those who worked with Sir Humphrey Burton often spoke of his quiet brilliance and how deeply he cared about sharing great music and art with everyone. Sir Humphrey Maguire Burton was born on 25 March 1931 in Trowbridge, Wiltshire. He studied music and history at Fitzwilliam House, Cambridge from 1951-1954, and even spent a year in France on a scholarship, researching 18th century musical life. That blend of curiosity and discipline would guide him for the rest of his life. In 1955, he joined BBC Radio as a trainee studio manager, and by 1958 he had moved to BBC Television, working on the influential arts program Monitor. There he collaborated with filmmakers such as Ken Russell and John Schlesinger, helping to shape a new kind of thoughtful, creative arts broadcasting. He became the BBC's first head of music and arts from 1965-1967, and in 1965 he won a BAFTA Award for creativity in music programming. A founder member of London Weekend Television, he devised, edited, and presented the art series Aquarius from 1970-1975, then returned to the BBC for a second term as head of music and arts from 1975-1981. His work helped bring programs like Young Musician of the Year, Arena, and Omnibus to audiences at home. Sir Humphrey's career took him to concert halls and opera houses around the world. He directed proms and opera relays from major venues including the Royal Opera House, English National Opera, Glyndebourne, and Scottish Opera. He had a remarkable 20-year association with Leonard Bernstein, directing over 170 documentaries and filmed concerts, and working with many leading conductors and pianists. He also directed the world premiere of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Requiem and produced the making of West Side Story. Beyond broadcasting, he was artistic advisor to the Barbican, and later moved to Aldeburgh in 2001, becoming president of the Aldeburgh Music Club in 2010. There he presented 15 seasons of matinee musicales and even marked his 70th birthday by conducting Verdi's Requiem at the Royal Albert Hall, raising funds for medical research. He was appointed CBE in 2000 and was knighted in the 2020 New Year Honours for services to classical music, the arts, and the media. Sir Humphrey Burton died on 17 December 2025 at the age of 94, leaving a legacy of music, film, and thoughtful storytelling that continues to inspire. Tributes to Sir Humphrey Burton. Number 4. Those who watched her on screen or saw her on stage often felt a quiet, captivating presence that stayed with them long after the lights came up. Francoise Brion was a French film and stage actress, born on 29 January 1933 in Paris, France. She began her film journey in 1957 with Billy Wilder's Love in the Afternoon, appearing alongside Gary Cooper and Audrey Hepburn. From that first step, she went on to appear in 75 films from 1957 to 2008, building a long and respected career in European cinema. She became closely associated with the creative spirit of the French New Wave, working with directors such as Jacques Doniol-Valcroze, Pierre Cast, and Alain Robbe-Grillet. Her first starring role came with Women Are Like That in 1960, opposite Eddie Constantine. That same era brought The French Game, directed by Jacques Doniol-Valcroze, who later became her husband. In 1963, Francoise Brion took on one of her most recognized roles in Alain Robbe-Grillet's L'Immortal. The film won the Prix Louis Deluc and was entered into the 13th Berlin International Film Festival, marking a memorable moment in her career. That year, she also appeared in Codeine, a film that received the Best Screenplay Award at the Cannes Film Festival, and in Sweet and Sour. Over time, her work continued with notable later roles, including Nellie and Mr. Arnaud and Le Divorce, before her final film appearance in The First Day of the Rest of Your Life in 2008. Her talents were not limited to the screen. Francoise Brion was also active in theater, performing in plays such as Oscar Wilde's An Ideal Husband, Françoise Sagan's A Castle in Sweden, Peter Weiss's Marat Sade, and Bertolt Brecht's Mother, Courage and Her Children. She was a guest multiple times at the Avignon Theatre Festival, reflecting her lasting connection to the stage. Francoise Brion died in Paris on 12 December 2025 at the age of 92. Remembered as a figure of French New Wave, 1960s cinema, and European film, she leaves behind a legacy as a devoted stage and film actress whose work quietly touched generations of audiences. Tributes to Francoise Brion. Number 3. Ethan's professionalism, his work ethic, and his lust for life put smiles on faces even on the darkest of days. Today on Immortal News, we remember Ethan McLeod, a 21-year-old English footballer who played as a forward and touched many lives in a short time. Ethan's journey in the game began early. He joined the Wolverhampton Wanderers Academy at age 7 and spent 10 years growing there. He went on to sign professional terms with the club and made 8 appearances in Premier League 2 during the 2023-24 season, playing 84 minutes at that level. Those around him remember a talented young man who matched his ability with real professionalism and effort. After leaving Wolverhampton Wanderers in September 2024, Ethan continued to build his career in senior football, representing Alvechurch, Rushall Olympic, and Stourbridge. At Rushall Olympic, he created a special moment in the club's history by scoring the winning penalty against Peterborough Sports in the FA Cup, sending the team into the first round and writing his name into their story. In July 2025, Ethan joined Macclesfield FC on a free transfer after a successful trial. Competing in the National League North, he made 3 league appearances for Macclesfield in the 2025-26 season, becoming a well-respected member of the first-team squad and a bright presence around the club. Beyond the pitch, those who knew Ethan speak of his infectious personality and the way he connected with everyone he met. He was described as incredibly talented, well-respected, and full of life. His attitude and energy inspired teammates and staff alike. Ethan passed away on 2025-12-17 at the age of 21, following a car crash on the M1 motorway while traveling home from a National League North away match at Bedford Town, where he had been a substitute player. His death was later confirmed by Macclesfield FC. He is also remembered as a brother, with Connor McLeod continuing his own path in the Wolverhampton Wanderers under-21 squad. Ethan's legacy lives on in the clubs he played for, the fans who cheered his name, and the people whose lives were brightened by his spirit, his talent, and his kindness. Tributes to Ethan McLeod. Number 2. Those who spent time with him say DJ Warras brought an energy to life that made people feel seen, heard, and welcomed. DJ Warras, whose full name was Warwick Stock, was a well-known South African DJ, media personality, businessman, activist, property manager, and security company operator. He was described as a beloved entertainer and a loving father, son, and brother. He was 40 years old, and his life touched many corners of South African public life. On air, on stage, and in his community, he built a reputation as someone who worked hard, spoke up, and kept pushing forward, even when things were difficult. Professionally, DJ Warras was respected for his work behind the decks and the microphone. He played sets for local audiences and big international visitors, including performing for guests at the G20 summit. Beyond entertainment, he also worked in property management and ran a security company, showing his drive to build and protect. Those close to him have shared that he was deeply family-oriented. He leaves behind 3 young children, his mother and siblings who loved him dearly. To them, he was not only a public figure, but a present and caring part of everyday life. People who worked with him talk about his determination and his sense of responsibility. He was known to raise concerns when he felt unsafe and took steps to protect himself and those around him. Even as he navigated threats and challenges, he continued to show up for his work, his causes, and his family. In remembering DJ Warras, many will think of the sound of his voice, the music he shared, and the passion he brought to every role he took on. But just as important are the quieter memories, moments with his children, conversations with his mother, laughter with friends, and the pride he took in building a life through talent and persistence. His story is one of impact in many directions, in entertainment, in business, in activism, and at home. May his family, friends, colleagues, and fans find comfort in the legacy he leaves behind and the lives he brightened along the way. Tributes to DJ Warras. What's trending on the internet? You know, every once in a while a story comes along that makes us pause, smile softly, and remember why certain people in movies meant so much to us. Today we're talking about actress Meg Ryan and the way she's honoring the life and legacy of the late Rob Reiner. Meg Ryan, now in her early 60s and beloved for her warm, heartfelt roles, has spoken publicly for the first time since the passing of Rob Reiner, the legendary actor, director, and storyteller behind some of the most cherished films of the last few decades. Rob Reiner, who first became a household name as Meathead on television's All in the Family, and went on to direct classics like Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, A Few Good Men, and of course, When Harry Met Sally, left an incredible mark on Hollywood and on audiences around the world. For many viewers, especially those who grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, Rob Reiner's movies became part of the soundtrack of life. First dates, family movie nights, lazy Sunday afternoons, and those wonderful cable reruns you'd always stop and watch, no matter what else was on. And at the heart of that magic, especially in the romantic comedies, was Meg Ryan. When Harry Met Sally, filmed in New York City and released in the late 1980s, brought together Rob Reiner's gentle, intelligent directing and Meg Ryan's sparkling, down-to-earth charm. The film didn't just entertain, it helped define what a modern romantic comedy could be. Meg Ryan has now shared that working with Rob was not just a professional high point, but a personal blessing. She has described him as kind, thoughtful, and funny. Someone who gave actors room to breathe and be themselves, and who made every set feel like a safe, creative family. In her reflections, Meg has focused less on the sadness of his passing and more on the joy of his life's work. She's spoken about how Rob loved telling stories that were both honest and hopeful, with characters who felt real, who made mistakes, who laughed at themselves, and who still believed in love, friendship, and doing the right thing. She shared gratitude for his guidance early in her career, remembering how he encouraged her to trust her instincts and bring her own sense of humor and heart into every scene. Rob Reiner's influence went far beyond romantic comedies. He championed stories about loyalty, courage, justice, and growing up. Stand By Me captured the bittersweet feeling of childhood friendships. A Few Good Men brought intensity and moral questions to the big screen. The Princess Bride blended fairy tale wonder with witty, warm-hearted fun that families still enjoy together. Meg Ryan has highlighted that all of these films, different as they are, share something deeply Rob, a belief that people, at their core, are worth rooting for. As fans revisit When Harry Met Sally and his other classics, Meg's words help us see Rob not only as an accomplished director, but as a gentle, supportive presence who truly cared about the people he worked with. She's talked about his laughter on set, his calm voice behind the camera, and his ability to make even long days of filming feel like a group of friends putting on a show together. That kind of environment is rare, and it's a big part of why his movies feel so genuine. For many older viewers, Rob Reiner's passing is a reminder of an era when going to the movies felt like a special event. You might remember seeing his films in crowded theaters, or renting the worn VHS tapes from the local video store, or later introducing those same stories to children and grandchildren. Meg Ryan's tribute invites us to hold on to those memories with gratitude rather than sorrow, to smile at the thought of how many hearts his work touched. She's also gently reminding all of us that legacies live on in the everyday moments. A line we still quote, a song we remember from a scene, a city park or diner that makes us think of a favorite movie, or a simple conversation with someone we love that feels like it came straight from one of his scripts. Those are the quiet ways a storyteller like Rob Reiner stays with us. As Meg Ryan honors her friend and director, the message she's sending is one of warmth and appreciation. Rob Reiner will be remembered not only for the awards, the box office success, and the famous titles, but for the way his work made people feel seen, comforted, and entertained. His movies helped people laugh again after hard days, inspired couples to believe in second chances, and gave families timeless stories to share together. And that may be the most beautiful tribute of all. That long after the cameras stop rolling and the credits fade from the screen, the kindness, humor, and humanity that Rob Reiner brought to his work continue to live on. Through the words of Meg Ryan and the countless fans who still treasure his films, he will be remembered with affection, respect, and a whole lot of love every time we press play and let those familiar stories wash over us once more. News 2. If you've ever said, "I'm too old for that," Martha Stewart may have just proved you wrong, even with a broken toe at a New York Knicks game. 83-year-old lifestyle legend Martha Stewart turned heads at Madison Square Garden when cameras caught her on the sidelines with her foot propped up and wrapped in a boot. Fans quickly noticed something was off, and the big question started spreading online. What happened to Martha's toe? As it turns out, the answer is surprisingly down to earth and very Martha. She explained that she accidentally broke her toe at home after knocking it against a piece of furniture. No dramatic fall, no wild stunt, just one of those everyday mishaps that can happen to anyone, at any age. But here's the part people are really talking about. Instead of staying home and feeling sorry for herself, Martha showed up to cheer on the Knicks anyway. Dressed in classic cozy courtside style, she smiled for photos, chatted with friends, and looked completely unfazed by the injury. Online, fans shared how much they admired her toughness and sense of humor. Many older viewers especially said they appreciated seeing someone in their 80s staying active, social, and stylish, even when things aren't perfect. Martha has long been known for reinventing herself, from building a media empire to becoming a social media favorite, and this little courtside moment just adds another chapter to her story of resilience. In a world that sometimes tells people to slow down as they get older, Martha Stewart, boot and all, reminds us that a small setback doesn't have to stop the fun. Her appearance at that Knicks game will be remembered as a playful snapshot of grace, grit, and good spirits at any age. Number 1. Those who spent time with Maria Katiane Gomes da Silva remember a young woman who poured her heart into her dreams and into the people she loved. Maria Katiane was a 25-year-old Brazilian influencer and lifestyle content creator who shared makeup, travel, and wellness content with her audience. She had relocated to São Paulo to pursue better work opportunities, building a life that combined her creativity with her desire to connect with others. Her videos and posts reflected a young woman exploring beauty, self-care, and the world around her. Through her work as a makeup, travel, and wellness content creator, she offered practical tips and a sense of companionship to those who followed her journey. Beyond social media, Maria Katiane was a mother. She had a daughter from a previous relationship, a little girl she leaves behind. That role, as much as any online title, was a central part of who she was. On November 29th, neighbors in her São Paulo building reported hearing screams and a loud impact. Maria Katiane died after a fall from the 10th floor balcony of her apartment. In the days that followed, authorities reviewed building security footage that showed multiple physical assaults against her in the hours before her death, including attacks in a parking garage and an elevator. Her husband, Alex Leandro Bispo dos Santos, who was present at the scene, claimed that her death was a suicide. Investigators, however, disputed this account based on the video evidence. On December 9th, he was arrested on suspicion of femicide. Maria Katiane's death has drawn attention to femicide and domestic violence awareness in Brazil and across the Americas, where gender-related killings of women remain a serious concern. Her story is now part of a larger, urgent conversation about safety, justice, and the protection of women's lives. Today we remember Maria Katiane as a young Brazilian creator who tried to build a better future for herself and her daughter, and whose life was cut tragically short. Tributes to Maria Katiane Gomes da Silva. Those who shared a stage or a highway with Joe Ely often said it felt like traveling beside a born storyteller, one who could turn any dusty mile into a song.